Welcome to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. Today is episode number 228. Stay tuned. Hi, everybody. Well, how's your summer going so far? I am having an amazing summer. As I told you last week, I had a staycation. It's my first ever where I took a couple weeks off and stayed home. And you know what? I had an amazing time. It was really fun being in my home, going on lots of hikes with my husband, seeing my grandbabies, just doing what I wanted to do. And at the same time, really taking time to relax. And as you all know, coaching is my most favorite thing to do. My groups, my individual clients, my podcast that I'm doing right now, some of my favorite things to do. But my brain needs a break so that I can come up with amazing things. And sometimes if I work too much without giving myself more time to relax, it stops working and coming up with all these amazing ideas. So it works so well for me. And I know I told you that, but it's still working so well for me. I love it. I love the idea of taking time off even when you're not going anywhere. I highly recommend it. You should try it. So one of the things that I want to talk to you about today that I'm really excited about is that I did an interview with one of my clients who just finished working with me. Her name is Joy, and I think her story is amazing. So of course, I want to share it with you. And one of the most beautiful things that I find about these relationships with these women that I have as they go through my program is that we really develop this loving relationship. And I'm always so grateful in the end that how much they want to share their experience of working with me and the experience that they have had that is so life-changing that they want to share it with you. I am so grateful for that and so appreciative. And I don't take it lightly. So with Joy, one of the things with her that you're going to find in this interview is that she really hesitated about working with me in the beginning. And one of her biggest issues with weight gain in her body was that she just didn't feel worthy. And she had such a hard time accepting where she was and the weight that she was at that she couldn't love herself where she is. And that was so much of her problem. So you're going to hear in this interview, you're going to hear about her transformation from, I'm not going to call it hate, but she wasn't liking herself too much. From being there to being in a place of having this beautiful, loving relationship with herself and finding her own worthiness through this program of working with me and losing weight and connecting into her body. So listen in on the interview, sit back, take a walk, whatever it is you're doing. Enjoy Joy, and I'll get back on the end and I'll say a few words. Hi, Joy. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you for having me on today.
It's so good. And, just so everybody knows, all of our calls up until this point have been audio calls. So this is really the first time that we're actually seeing each other. So it's really, really good to see you. And it's amazing to me how when we're not seeing each other, how transparent and how honest our calls are. I think sometimes it's better. Sometimes when you're not seeing somebody, I don't know, but I kind of think that. That's why I do it like that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the anonymity in some way helps.
Yeah.
To be a little more candid.
Well, you've been very, very candid.
I have.
Yes. So if we were going to start somewhere, probably where I would like to start with, I think where most people are, you were listening to the podcast, right?
Yes.
What made you decide to do a mini session? Like, how long were you listening to it? How did that go?
Well, I probably was listening for about 6 months or so.
Wow. Okay.
I am a podcast, I wouldn't say junkie, but I enjoy podcasts.
Okay.
I enjoy getting perspectives.
Yeah.
I kind of hunt around when I go walking or doing something in the car where I enjoy them. So
I like filling your mind with good stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a friend referred me to you. And I started listening to you, and what you said really hit home with me, because I'm in the age group. I'm 52.
Yay!
And yay. And menopause is here. And so is the weight gain associated with it. Mm-hmm. And as I've realized since working with you, not just menopause, but a lot of other factors have come into play. And so I listened for about 6 months, and I pulled the trigger when I think it was a podcaster that had said something like, I thought I was going to be the first one that would fail.
I remember that podcast, that interview that I did with, yes, I remember that.
And I thought, well, wait a minute, because that's the reason I haven't, moved forward with the mini sessions, because I don't want to be the first one that's going to fail here.
Fascinating.
And so she was successful. And I thought, well, if she went into it reluctant that she wouldn't really make a change in her life that was meaningful, but wanted to try, I thought, I can at least have a mini session. I can at least touch base and connect with you over the phone and, see if you could help me.
Okay. So we had the mini session, and what happened after that? I mean, obviously people know what happened, but I think that the way that we ended up working together is worth a conversation.
Yes. So I came home after that day of talking with you and had a conversation with my husband about it, and telling him about your program. It was a 12-week program, and that we would have weekly coaching sessions, and that I really felt like I had failed at everything else. But
this is what you told him.
This is what I told him.
And then what did he say to you?
Well, of course, we discussed the cost of the program.
Yeah.
And there was a degree of sticker shock there.
Yep. And
he was like, wow, that's a lot of money. And I said, well, yeah, it is. And he basically said, but you don't know who this person is. Maybe you should think about, if you need to talk to somebody or be coached by somebody, maybe you ought to think about going to a therapist or a counselor or somebody with that kind of credential. And I thought, well, I've done that before, and it never really solved my problem when it came to losing weight and feeling really good about myself.
Yeah.
Because I was feeling very poorly, and he knew it. I mean, he could see me beating myself up, and he hated to see that. Yeah. And so we were kind of like negotiating how we were going to manage this. And he was like, well, what do you think about asking her to just go maybe do 6 weeks with her instead of 12 weeks and see if you can do it at half the price that we discussed? And so I proposed that to you.
Yeah. So tell everybody, because we ended up you sent me a text.
Yes.
Saying, hey, I got a great idea.
Right. How about if we kind of try it out for 6 weeks, and if I'm making progress, then I'll commit to the next 6 weeks.
Right. And then I said to you, which I'll do rarely, but I have on occasion when I really feel like I can help somebody and I can see how they're in their own way. That was my end, is right. I knew you were just afraid and that your husband was not comfortable.
Right.
Right. Which didn't help you.
No, it didn't help me.
Right.
I was afraid. I was afraid because I didn't want to fail, and I didn't want to.
You were very afraid of failing, yes. Right?
Huge amount of fear, because
right.
I didn't want to fail myself again.
Right.
And
so we got on the phone, and what happened?
Basically, you said, hey, if you're going to cut yourself short, I don't know that I could really help you. You really have to commit to it 100%. But know that something inside you is telling you that I can help you. And I can help you if you follow that voice, if you follow your intention and that gut sensation that you're
having. That is what I said. Yeah.
Yeah. That visceral sensation that I knew what you were telling me applied to me 100%. And I shouldn't let money make a difference. I shouldn't let my fear make a difference, because everybody's afraid when they start. And
it's true.
And so you basically said to me, do it anyway, even though you're afraid, if you really feel this is something that is resonating with you. And I said, yep, I'm doing it. So I came home that night and I said, look, hon, I'm going to go all in with this. I'm afraid, I'm concerned I might fail, but I deserve to at least give it a try, because I've been so miserable for so long. So we did it, and I have zero regrets about it.
Was it worth every penny?
Absolutely. I don't even hesitate when I say that.
Yeah. So this is the most important part, because this is the part that stops 90% of the people that feel like I could help them. This part that we're talking about right now.
Right.
And that visceral feeling that you had inside of you, I think that has propelled you.
Yes.
Since we started talking, even more so.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what I want to talk about now is your compelling reason, because we always come up with a compelling reason. And you came up with a compelling reason that I think is worth talking about, because I know that you did not feel worthy.
That's correct.
Right? And I know now how worthy you feel.
Yeah.
And I want everyone to understand why compelling reasons are so important, a big why about why you do this work. What was yours, if you don't mind sharing it?
Well, at the beginning, I've skipped around with my
compelling I know, but I want to share that.
At the beginning, my compelling reason was I deserve to feel better about myself. I deserve to have control over myself in the presence of food and alcohol. And then it morphed into I deserve to feel worthy. And that's where it really hinged on, because I really, as we worked together and you started peeling away those layers.
Okay, so I want to stop for 1 minute, because I want to talk about peeling the layers. I don't peel layers without you wanting the layers to be peeled.
You're right.
Right. I just want everybody to know that. It's not like you're going to come in and I'm going to sit here and find all this stuff and scare the shit out of you.
No, not at all.
Right. But because I remember, like, it might have been like the third session where you wanted to tell me something that you probably hadn't told anybody.
Yeah.
That was really in your way of your own feelings of what you deserve and your own worthiness. And I just think it's so important to share with people that this is not as much about the food as you think.
No, I was completely fixated on the fact that I was heavier than I wanted to be, and that I needed to lose weight, period.
And that was the end of the statement. It's I have to lose weight, and you couldn't accept it, and you thought terrible things about yourself because of your weight.
Yes.
But really, it was a worthiness issue.
It was 100% a worthiness issue.
Yeah.
And it's taken me the entire course of nearly 12 weeks to come to the conclusions that I have. But I think the reason that I was able to come to those conclusions were the tools that you've given me. And the main tool was the ones where I needed to just sit and be quiet with my thoughts and kind of do an inward deep dive of why I was thinking the way I was thinking, what I was feeling, doing the model. Now, I will admit, I hated doing the model on my own. I resisted doing the model on my own. I don't know why I resisted doing the model, but I would come to you with the pieces of the model.
That's right. Which is why you hired me, to help you do the model.
Right. And then when you put those pieces in the model for me, it was like a light bulb went off. I was like, whoa. I mean, that's when things really started to click, was when we started to really see the thoughts that I was having. I was believing thoughts that just weren't good thoughts, and they really weren't true thoughts.
They never are.
But I believed they were true.
That's why they were true, because you believed them.
Yes. But you made me realize that the thoughts were kind of ridiculous to think of in the ways that I was thinking of them. And there were better thoughts to have that were also believable, because those were actually true.
They're all true. I mean, the thing about thoughts is that when you believe them, you make them true.
Right.
The circumstance or facts are true. They are what they are. You can't believe one thing and I can't believe another thing. A fact is a fact. If the sky is blue, the sky is blue. But a thought, you could believe that you're not worthy, which is just a thought, or you could believe that you are. Right. You just couldn't believe that you were at first. You could only believe that you weren't, but we kind of lathered our way up to the I am worthy. Yeah. I am worth it.
Yes.
And it became believable.
Yes.
But it's not like you came in believing it.
No, I did not.
It's not like you came in believing that you could even do this. Like, you didn't believe for sure. And it's really good for people to hear that sometimes when you start to do this, it's not like you have 100% faith in yourself that you're going to do it.
Right.
Right. It's like you had a little fear of failure, but you jumped in anyway.
That's right. And when we get into the very first section of my unworthiness, I made it all about a relationship that had ended, that I had been involved in. And the man was a thinner guy, and I had lost a lot of weight. I was in a very unhealthy marriage at the time. And in order to escape from my marriage, I started losing weight by running, eating healthy, and I dropped about 50 pounds. And I thought, looking great. I thought I was feeling great at the time, but it was kind of like a false sense of security because my mind wasn't really right. I was trying to avoid things and used exercise and all of that, but I got the attention of someone and started a relationship because I wasn't ready to end my marriage, simply because I didn't want my children to have to go through the pain of a divorce. And this man happened to also be in a marriage as well that was failing. So we had a lot in common, and both of our marriages did fail. And at the point where we could have started an actual relationship, he decided he was going to end it, and he just didn't want to do it anymore. And I made it all about maybe I wasn't thin enough. I found out shortly after we broke up, he had been seeing somebody else who happened to be very tiny, petite, much different than I am. So I made it all about the fact that
there must be something wrong with me.
There was something wrong with me. Therefore, I was not worthy of his love. I was not worthy, period. And so even though that relationship was completely unhealthy.
Well, the thing is, it's really important to note before we move on is that through the work that we did, those were the conclusions that you finally came up with, is that he really wasn't worthy of you.
No, that's right. That's exactly right. And so through the model, through working with you and the tools, that was my first aha moment, is when we sat there and did a model about that. I thought, my God, the best thing that could have ever happened to me was to end that relationship. I can just imagine the spiral of unhealthiness that would have come from that had it stayed together. So the best thing that could have ever happened was that it ended. And that, in fact, is true, because I went on several years later to meet the man of my dreams, who I'm now married to, my second marriage, and it's wonderful, and he's wonderful. And so had that not happened, I would have never met him. And so then,
I'm going to cut you off for a minute, because this is really important, because that was probably our second or third session. Mm-hmm. And the reason you wanted to talk to me about that is because as you were starting to do your food journals, a lot of emotions were coming up in your food journals. You were starting to feel all these emotions that you were eating.
Yeah. So
and that's why you wanted to talk about it very, very early on. And I think it freed you up.
It did.
To start really paying more attention to your physical hunger and your emotional hunger.
Right. Absolutely.
So it's really good for people to see that, there's stuff that goes on that mess with your head, and sometimes you don't know what it is. And when you stop eating your emotions,
right,
they pop up, and you were brave enough to want to talk about it. That's the thing about you. And most of the women that I work with is, you're courageous. It's like, this is what you really want for yourself. It's what you really wanted. And once you were all in, when you decided that you were all in, you were all in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I did eat a lot of my emotion. I still do from time to time, but I do
from time to time.
But the way I approach it now is much different. So that was the first example of me feeling very unworthy, and how just going through the process and using your tools and sitting with my thoughts and writing them down and meditating, walking, doing something to really connect with myself has really helped me so much. And in doing that, it's kind of led me on down the road of seeing how other thoughts are coming up and where they're coming from, and how I've tried to use food and alcohol to fill some kind of void or hole, because I wasn't connected, basically. I just wasn't connected with myself. Mm-hmm. And I remember actually even being a young child, in growing up, my mom was very loving, but my dad didn't want to hear if there was any, if we were having any kind of problem, he didn't want to know about it. You know what I mean? Like, we had to sort of suppress our emotion, or if there was a spat or something, next time I would see him, instead of talking about it, he just acted like nothing was wrong. So you kind of lose touch with your emotions when they're not validated, when you're not able to talk about them. So I can even see growing up in that house, how I've learned to suppress and disconnect from myself.
So talk about now, because I think one of the things that'd be interesting for people to hear about is the whole how you worked through alcohol. Mm-hmm. And Joy eats a little bit, because we did had different ideas on how to work with alcohol, because you wanted to keep drinking.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So you want to talk a little bit about your little journey with alcohol and where you're at with that now, because a lot of people have that.
Yeah. Well, I was one of those people that said, there's no way I'm giving up alcohol. No way.
That's how we started. And that's fine. You can absolutely do it like that. And
and that's the way we did it. And so
you would work a plan.
Yeah.
How did that work?
So at first I would just journal each and every time I decided to drink, how much, the thoughts I was having, all that kind of stuff. And then I tried to limit the days I would drink, so then I would, and sometimes I would stay with it and sometimes I wouldn't, and I would journal about that too. But after this is where the food journal came really critical for me, is because I started to see a pattern with myself. And that was, if I went beyond 2 drinks, so if I drank 1 or 2 drinks in a particular day, mm-hmm. I was able to maintain control of myself with the alcohol and the food.
You were able to believe that you could control yourself.
Yeah. I believed that I could control myself.
Right.
When I got to 3 drinks, then I went to the F it mode, and, I kept drinking more, and then I would binge eat on top of it. So that was one way that I helped. It was an awareness for me to see my tendency when it came to alcohol.
Yeah. So, that's really interesting to look at too, because it's almost like you had to do it. See, because a lot of people don't even want to see anything. They just want to come in and work with me and not have any problems anymore. Mm-hmm. And what you're sharing with people is that a lot of stuff showed up on food journals, like over drinking, not sticking with your drink plan, but how you learned from doing it.
Yeah.
You figured out what you needed to do by the mistakes that you made, because it didn't lead you where you wanted to go.
That's right. And then when I drank excessively, well, it took me several days to get over it. I mean, it's not like when I was in my 20s, I could drink heavily, and then the next day I'd have a hangover for half a day and start it all over again the next night if I wanted to.
Yeah, and in your 20s, you could just not eat for 3 days and lose 20 pounds. I mean, it was all just amazing.
But now a hangover lasts for several days, and I just feel lousy, and I really have gotten to the point where I don't tolerate feeling lousy anymore.
Why? Why?
Because I'm feeling so good about my life now, and my thoughts are cleaner, and I'm feeling worthy, and I don't need to drink excessively anymore. Not that I don't drink, I still do on occasion, but honestly, I've really lost the desire to drink. Now,
oh my God, talk about that, because, 12 weeks ago, that was an impossibility on your end because of what you made it mean. So when people hear you say that you've lost the desire, you have worked to lose the desire.
That's
and
right.
Now it's just amazing to watch this with you.
I never thought I would say that. And I still love the thought of drinking wine and love the thought of drinking beer, but I don't know. I don't really want to. Every once in a while I will, and then I start to drink and I'm like,
That's called what we were talking about, was to get you to the point where you could take it or leave it.
And that's where I am. I could take
it. It's a miracle.
It is a miracle. And I just choose not to now, so just because I don't want to go down that path anymore. I've been there, I've done it.
Do you feel deprived?
No.
Do you feel restricted?
No. Because I know I could have it if I wanted it.
Ta-da!
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay. So here you are in this place now, because we do mind body charts. So I know that, your moods are amazing, and the way that you feel about yourself and your cravings and urges are a lot lower now, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I give a big credit on that to eliminating sugar and flour.
Say a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I was still having lots and lots of cravings, probably a month into it. And you suggested maybe we try eliminating. And at first I was like, okay, I can do this. But I was still kind of sneaking it in here and there. I was like,
really good
rebellious teenager. I was playing the diet game, trying to do it here and there, but I was still having lots of cravings, and I don't like them. I don't like urges. I don't like cravings. And it seemed like when I was successful in completely eliminating sugar and flour, they went way down.
Which was the reason why I suggested that you do it, because a lot of people have problems with urges and sitting with urges. And the problem sometimes is that sugar and flour create the urges, right? So you can manage your mind from now until doomsday, but it's really hard to manage your mind when you're still eating it. So I suggested that you just take it out so you could see the difference.
And it makes a huge difference. And I'm not the greatest with sitting through urges, I'll admit,
Why would you say that? Why would you say that? I mean, like, people, I would not even let you say that, because I think that with what you've done and gone through all of this, you have learned how to sit through urges. I don't know why the greatest. I don't know what the greatest means.
Well, I guess what I mean is I'm not perfect.
Oh, you're not perfect? Okay. Well, everybody, in case you believed up until this point that Joy was perfect, she's not.
Yeah.
It's good to know.
But it's nice when they're not as heavy and strong as I recall them being before. So they're more manageable. I can talk myself through them.
It's because you allow yourself to go through them.
Yes. You
know how to manage them. Talking yourself through them means you're managing your urges.
Yeah.
With your thinking. Mm-hmm. And with the food that you eat.
Right.
It's amazing. If only people could see or hear us talking in the beginning, when we first started working, to appreciate where you are now. So why don't you just tell people just now, do you feel like it was a good decision that you did this now that you're on the other end of this? What would you say to people who are thinking about wanting to work with me or feeling the way you were feeling at the beginning? What would you say to them now that you're on the other end?
I would say don't hesitate to at least do a mini session to talk to you. It is worth knowing that when you speak, when you talk, Dr. Deb knows what you're going through, and that she can help you through the process. I tried it. There are other podcasts. I said I listened to other podcasts that they do similar type of work, but in a group, not one-on-one. And I've tried models and thinking other ways and, accountability groups and things like that. But it just didn't truly connect with me internally until I laid it all out for you, because then it was personal. Then it was all about me. It wasn't trying to make somebody else's situation fit my life. And there are certainly many similarities with other people's stories. But until you work one-on-one with somebody and
not just somebody.
With Dr. Deb.
Right.
Sorry.
Right. I mean, well, seriously.
Until you work one-on-one with Dr. Deb, who has the experience of doing this type of coaching, but also taking your personal life experiences, thoughts, situations into account, it really becomes an eye-opening experience. And because you're able to personalize it, it is so much more meaningful. It's so much more life-changing because it is just about me. And I'm worth that.
Which is a beautiful thing. So was it life-changing?
Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say that after working with you, after sitting through all the thoughts and taking a pause to really dive deep inside myself, I feel like I now have a relationship with myself I've never had before, ever. It's taking me 52 years to really listen to myself, get to know myself, get connected with myself. And it's all thanks to you and giving me those tools. And I think that I felt so unworthy. I felt so horrible. I would say so many mean things to myself that you showed me that they just weren't true. And now that I'm connected to myself and I see myself with kindness and compassion, with all that I've gone through in my life, I'm able to love myself for the first time, and I'm able to care for myself for the first time, really. And somewhere along the line, it lost the reason that I'm doing this was less about losing weight and became more about truly caring for myself. Now, that's not to say I don't care about losing weight. I definitely do. And I've lost about 12 pounds in the process, and I probably have a good 25, 30 more to go. But I know I'm going to lose them. It's just, I'm not so hell-bent on lose it by tomorrow, or you suck, or you're weak, or I quit making those nasty remarks to myself because it wasn't taking me where I wanted to go. It just made me feel lousy. And I don't feel lousy anymore. I feel fantastic.
Wow. So before I end this, I just have to say to everybody, your name is Joy.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, what I wished for you, I don't know if you remember this, but because you were not very joyful.
I was not.
In the beginning, you were so miserable. And what I wished for you is that you could live up to your name.
Yeah.
Have you?
I think I have.
I think you have too. I think you have too. Joy, thank you so much for being with me today. I loved every minute of working with you.
Thank you so much for everything you've done to show me who I am and to be patient with me. Thank you for giving me the tools that have really turned my life around.
My pleasure, sweetheart. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I know, I told you. So one of the things that really stands out to me in this interview with Joy is that what I said in the very end is her name, Joy. I know, I remember so much telling her in the beginning that my biggest wish for her is that she could live up to her name. I know you heard that in the interview, but that is really the thing that stands out to me the most is that she is so joy filled right now. She does live up to her name, and that worthiness of herself, which is what she was lacking, that she has now found for herself through going inside of herself and finding the emotions that she was trying to hide from, and that all the emotions were there when she was eating instead of feeling. And when she started feeling instead of eating, so much stuff popped up for her that she was willing to share with me and to work out with herself and with me. And you heard about one of those experiences that she had when she was in a relationship that wasn't actually working, that was working, that wasn't working, and how she, in some ways, felt unworthy about that. And then later on in our experience of our programming, she told me about another experience, which I'm not going to share with you right now because she didn't share it in the interview, when she was much younger, that also added to her not feeling worthy. And that came out even later in our program, and she worked through that too. And you saw in that interview that that woman feels worthy, and that what she said is for the first time in her life, she has a relationship with herself. That is thrilling. That is why I do this work. That is what I want for you, either through the podcast that you listen to, or if you're wanting something more, maybe you want individual coaching too. So all you have to do, if you would like to find out how you can work with me and how my program might work for you, is go to drdebbutler.com work with me, you can set up a mini session and you can find out if what I did for joy is something that I might be able to help you with too. And as always, no matter what else you do this week, please, please, please be very, very kind to yourself and maybe do what Joy did. See if you can find your own worthiness. See you next week. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this podcast with my wife, Dr. Deborah. I've enjoyed working with her and living with her. That's right, we work and live together for 40 years, more than 40 years. It's amazing how time flies. And it's been like a little tree growing in the yard, and now it's a big tree, our love. So I would like to invite you to correspond with Dr. Deborah. Go to iTunes, drdebutler.com/iTunes. And you can review the show, and you can even give some helpful suggestions on what you would like to talk about in the future to accomplish your mindfulness and your journey into mindfulness. Thank you.